You guys voted on it. Today we're breaking down the 5 most likely updates to happen and what's going to happen. Now the first thing I think is realistically on the table is a major change to the way cases are going on inside of CS2. If we want to look at the current drop pool, it is not working out extremely well for Valve. Although the case unboxing numbers are absolutely insane, the amount of cases out there are dwindling fast, and the fact that they went ahead and added the Anubis package shows that Valve is definitely looking for alternatives. This is going to provide a major change for the active drop pool potentially. SkinSwap is today's sponsor, and they're also sponsoring you with a free bonus for signing up with the first link in the description. They're the premier place for CSGO and Rust skins with a massive trading site and a top-of-the-line marketplace, offering you the most competitive rates out there and a massive 40% bonus when you're using that link in the description. Combine that with their top-of-the-line selling feature with many payout options and their trading feature legitimately taking you just about a minute, and there's no reason not to sign up with that first link in the description. Now, one thing I want to point out is the fact that we've had a major update like this before. We used to have the non-prime drop pool, and in 2021 of June, we saw this absolutely vanish. Now this was very interesting because if we want to look at the price graphs, these cases spiked up immediately, but the truth is the growth didn't stop there. A lot of these cases have roughly about 5 to 10x since then, which is a major amount of growth, especially inside of cases where your price point is usually a little bit higher and a little bit different than capsules. But this is definitely a possibility where we see something major happen to the active duties. Now I don't think this is going to be absolutely removing the active duty cases, because if we look at the graphs, these things are unboxed a heck of a lot more than anything else, and there's no reason for Valve to go ahead and interfere with that by reducing the amount of them. In fact, it's very possible they could increase the amount of them. Obviously, it's a little bit of a long-term stretch, but the truth is I think there's definitely a strong possibility we see something happen with the active duty pool when it comes to CS2. Now, the one thing that's definitely been on everyone's mind is when the Paris sale is going to end, and obviously we can see right here, the Paris sale has been on sale for quite a while, almost the exact same time as Antwerp right now. That's not the full story though. The full story also comes with this graph where we can see that Paris was also the second longest to go ahead and get implemented a sale. It took almost a month and a couple days for the Paris sale to actually start. Now if we want to look at anything Paris, like the Paris Hollows right here, it's such an interesting story because even though we definitely saw a very slight decrease for a short amount of time, we're now back on the train where things are increasing because investor demand is just so high for this area. Even though the ROI isn't sitting at 100% anymore, it's still really high, which is a really questionable area because we can look at the Paris stickers right here and see that even though the dip happened where we saw the major sale, they're back up once again. Now the Paris sale at this point is in a really precarious situation. That's because it's really dependent on outside factors, specifically an operation. If you don't remember, it was actually Operation Riptide that went ahead and made RMR unprofitable. It dipped it below 25 cents because when an operation comes around, people try to liquidate absolutely everything, and it's something we're very likely to see here again with Paris. Is if we see a major update, people want to liquidate off something, they just picked up a lot of Paris capsules, they're still sitting at about the same price, they'll go ahead and take maybe a slight loss to go ahead and sell those off. And speaking of an operation, the problems don't stop there. If we want to look at active duty cases from specifically Riptide, we can see the clutch case, this was the only one that was worth anything, we saw a massive 40% drop. If we want to look at rare cases, we see potentially a 25 to 30% drop, and this is something that absolutely demolishes a significant amount of growth for pretty much every investment, because that's exactly what people like to sell off, is play skins and investments when an operation comes around. Investments because you're not actively using them and you can go ahead and acquire some brand new items. Combine that with the fact that Valve is going to have everyone's attention for a very short period of time, and attention obviously brings a lot of money with it. They're going to want to capitalize off of all of the people that are coming in to play CS2 in the short term by putting out an operation pass. Operations make them a very significant amount of money, and the biggest thing about it, it's going to provide unlimited cases. That's because if you don't remember, you can actually purchase cases during an operation, and this is something that brings a massive amount of interest into the game. People are going to have unlimited chances to go ahead and open up the case they want, and that's because of the way operations are set up. If you don't remember, during an operation, you actually buy cases directly from Valve. Because you're buying a case directly from Valve, Valve is making $1 profit off of every single case they sell, completely different than the Steam market where the majority of the value sold goes to the person who listed the market. Here, Valve is getting $3.50 at least from every single case, and that's because people are buying the cases directly from Valve, offering a huge financial incentive for Valve to go ahead and release an operation during this time because people are going to be forced to buy cases from Valve. And if we look in the past, cases were actually all over $1 for a short period of time, meaning that this could actually be the cheapest case, providing even more incentive for people to open it. Now, when CS2 releases, if you don't think it's going to become coming with an operation, I think a case is very likely as well. That's because if we want to look at the way the cases have been released, we're on track to go ahead and see one relatively soon. Now obviously CS2 might have played into that, but the truth is there definitely should be a case coming soon, and with that comes a little bit of an interesting situation. That's because we haven't received any cases since the introduction of the Anubis package, and this could be Valve's way of saying we're not going to be getting any more cases. Now personally, I don't think that's very likely just because cases make more money for Valve, but the truth is this could be a very interesting switch because Anubis package is sold by Valve, and Valve does want to capitalize off of taking as much money as you can and not giving any of it to other players like you do when you sell something on the Steam market. In my opinion, I don't think we're going to see any major shift with a new case to a new system where you buy them directly from Valve other than when an operation goes on, but it is definitely a possibility and I wouldn't rule it out completely. Now obviously to go along with that, when a new case does release, we're probably going to see one move from the active drop pool into the rare drop pool, and therefore that case is probably going to increase rather quickly in price, especially considering we're in such an investment hype as of right now, and in the past that's something that happened already, but it's going to be interesting to see if it's a little bit of an over peak and collapse or if it just keeps on going up. And finally, the last one I think is actually a realistic possibility is brand new collections coming into the game. Now what do I mean by this? Look at the 8 actively dropping collections. They're all quite old, but specifically 6 of them are 9 or 10 years old. That's a very long time. In fact, they were one of the first collections introduced into the game. And that's very important because they all have one specific attribute that makes them very valuable. And that's the fact that they're trade up fillers. If we want to look inside of these are the only collections that are relatively cheap and trade up fillers. If we want to look at all the current collections that are being released, such as Anubis and all the other ones, we can see that they have multiple purples, multiple pinks, and virtually zero trade up possibilities to come with this as a filler skin. Therefore, if we come back to these 6 collections right here, that does bring off the investment opportunity of potentially picking up some of these as an investment because they could increase in the future if there's no longer any other available options. A lot of these have a pretty massive supply, but the truth is they're already increasing. If we want to look at something like the Amber Fade, the P2000, there's not a ton of filler skins in the purple rarity, and this one's up quite significantly. Emerald Pinstripe is no different. This one definitely does have a little bit more value in terms of a play skin, so it's always been a little bit more expensive, but the truth is there's not a ton of competition in this area, and if supply gets suddenly cut off for these, I think it's very possible that we could see a very sudden increase for a lot of these in the near future. Now, should you invest now because of everything we've gone over in this video? Well, it's actually a little bit of a harder question. Obviously, I think if you're going to make a move, now is definitely the time to do so. With that being said, I don't really recommend investing speculatively, which is kind of what this video is, looking at the future updates and how you can prepare for them, basically giving you the information of once an update drops, what specifically should you be looking at to happen. I don't recommend investing preemptively for these, but I will say if you're going to do something, now is probably the time. That's all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day.